Hi, folks. Nick Tucker here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into it, I need to shout out my sponsors. We are made possible largely from what we do by the Independent Creator Directory. That's IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, and musicians. We're also made possible by sales of the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear, all part of our ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled a sword to teaching the art to others. And of course, and most importantly, I have to change my list. We just had some new folks come in, so that will be next time. By the patrons over on my Patreon, those wonderful people who give me a little bit of money so that I can purchase and distribute gear to feed people who wouldn't have it, evaluate it, and basically keep afloat in doing what I'm doing so I don't have to charge my students. I have been doing this for going on a quarter of a century, and I've yet to charge my students for training because I believe that the world is in need of martial arts. It's in need of support. People who are on the weaker side need they need to be known and recognized. Okay, and I'm all about using Western martial arts to build people up, especially folks who've endured certain types of trauma, being many women, people with who have endured physical or sexual attack, suicide prevention kind of situations. Those of us who have endured this kind of horrible thing. It's a wonderful way to regain personal power. And it also teaches spatial awareness. It teaches situational awareness, improvised weaponry. It is a great passion of mine. And though I have been fighting my own disabilities and coming to terms with that term, as well as the challenges I have in my household with my son's needs and other situations, it can be a lot. But I think it's very vital to keep going forward. Now, I did plan to take time off live streams on Friday nights for a while, do some pre-recorded stuff. But my local internet provider, due to the storm, had many days of offline. So during the windows where I normally would have an opportunity to broadcast, I couldn't. I could not record and upload my videos. So you get a live Historical Fencing Guild live stream. Now, should you want me to continue these more, please reach out. But I found more and more people were just checking them later. So I'm thinking I might just do them ahead and make maybe a schedule of fixed, I'll do so many live streams, or when something important comes up. And we do have something relatively important to discuss. I'm going to bring something up here. Now, a while ago, pardon my minor doxing, hide that. I talked about being incredibly excited about the polypropylene saber because finding Western trainers at low cost is very rare. So, anything sub $50 can be an impressive find. And then finding something with a sheath is vital, because I believe you should train as practically as possible. So this is very much a style of weapon I have been seeking for a long time. And as such, this trainer is very suited for many of the swords I'm likely to encounter. I do hope that they have the kindness in their heart if these sell to do other Western swords, I would do much for a polypropylene Charles IV sword. But I still believe that the poly rapiers, while a little wibbly, are the safest and smartest option that I'm finding on the market to date. And I wish they would do more weapons with that higher degree of flex. So I'll be looking into that too for my viewers. But as we go into today's unexpected content, let's do this. Let's see. Is this the one I need? Yeah, there we go. Hi. I'm not going to bother unboxing it because I received this several days ago. And I'm kind of glad I did because it gave me an opportunity to, to carry it around, to use it, to practice with it, and get an actual trained opinion on this particular trainer. This obviously comes with a lovely sheath. Now, the outer rings, pardon the black on black, that is simply how these things come. I am sorely tempted to attempt to make these pieces orange just for safety. But as you can see, there's a little bit of wiggle in the riggings. But they have a fairly nice fake leather that unfortunately is prone to taking dings and scratches very easily. So if this is carried regularly, you can expect this to get beat up rather quickly. The hanging mechanism is interesting, to say the least. And I'm going to draw it. Give me a second. Okay. Now, did you see how even in a tangled position, a blade of this length, which I believe is 27 inches, is very comfortable for me to draw? We're going to get into the blade itself, but I want to spend some time on the sheath before we get into it because I have many sword trainers. I have very few that have sheaths and very fewer still that I would prefer to draw from. So I'm going to put this aside for just a moment. The sheath is, as I said, it's very ornate. And I find that fascinating because this really does fit a lot of what I personally do and am as a swordsman, in that it feels like a Western blade with an almost katana rigging, a Western rigging with a katana sword, blade and a modified Chinese sheath. It's a hybrid style, and I did not expect that. Now, I will say one point that is a little concerning. I'll try to get the camera. Oh, I don't have my light on me right now. But let me see if I go. Oh, wait, my camera's not fixed. Here we go. Give it a second. As you can see, the inner sheath and the outer bracket do not mate well. It doesn't cover quite right. So it's a little strange. I have concerns. My katana trainer for Iaido practice is much heavier, much sturdier, and just feels more put together. I do not believe this is by the same company that I normally buy from, which explains why, when we get to the blade, it is significantly lighter. I also have a little bit of concern furthering in the construction. Well, again, you won't be able to see it from that angle, so I want you guys to see it. Where there you go. The blade's tang is shoved into the handle at some depth and then glued, best I can tell. Again, I do not know how this will speak to its long-term reliability. Okay. Those are the negatives, and they are important negatives. They had to be discussed. That being said, I also may be changing the name of this video later. We'll see. This weapon, as a trainer, is solid polypropylene. It has a bit of flex, but not enough I would feel comfortable thrusting with it. But it might, I mean, it would break off a little bit. I'm dubious. But again, this is a saber. And as it's a saber, it should be used like a saber, primarily cutting and slicing, which I am fine with. The balance is superb for a weapon so light. The grip is mildly aggressive, so it's a little better under a glove than under your hand, but it is a texturized cross grip. I find the full belly to be a little discomforting, and actually I find for me it would be more comfortable in reverse. But I don't believe in reverse grip, you know that, unless we're doing something with Tontos. You can get a good hammer lock on this, and it's important to understand this is not meant for, though you can, for a keyhole. And you'll see me do that out of years and years of reflex, but it really wants a proper hammer grip. This is a simple, though elegant, striking weapon. I'm about to annoy Thesis and a few other people because I have been sheathing swords the same way for many, many years, and I still do. But let me do this. Pardon both my weight. The draw, I'm trying to make sure I angle this so I don't chop anything, is very fluid. The curve is present. It is very slight, but is very felt. I found that I can simply thread this as is through a belt and have it work delightfully well. I can also untie this, hang the whole rig as a baldric and tie it back off if I don't have a belt to hang it on. This is very nicely well done. It is putting a lot of faith in this plastic. So I'm already planning when it breaks, what kind of material I'm going to use. Now, if it doesn't break, if it holds, I will be delighted. But it is light. I have said a lot of views, and if it seems like I'm being negative, I'm being cautious because, one, like I said, this is not done by the company that I usually go for, because the company I usually prefer has a mark, and I think it's either Wu Jiao, and this is a different store. So this is kind of the cheaper model. This does bring me hope that Wu Jiao will do their version as a bit more stout. They also have a shorter version of these. I want to say it's 14-inch. I am very intrigued to see it, but I think this may be getting a some type of orange treatment, again, for safety and visibility in videos, knowing full well it will probably scrape off, and that's okay too. But I've been doing practice cuts with this quite a bit, and it flows delightfully. It hangs very well. I am concerned again about the overall quality, in that I will have to spar with it. But until I have a partner who is up to sparring available, I will not be able to do that portion of the test. I also think that 40 is a little high for what this is, but it's lower than it could be. So, there we go. It also locks in pretty well. How long it will maintain this level of sturdiness, I don't know, but it will allow me to do some other instructive videos in the near future, and allow me to do them in narrower quarters, being that if I want to demonstrate the simple sword, I should be able to do that in places with a much shorter roof, because this, obviously, if you look, it is right in that sweet spot between a short sword and a long sword, a proper length sword. I like this on me. For people who are lighter than me or shorter than me or have weak grips, I absolutely recommend this. If Foxy were to see this, for example, she would adore this. When I put this in Trey's hands, it will be 50-50. She will probably not like the lack of flex for thrust, but the lightness you can practice all day. And I am so used to trainers of a heavier weight that I find myself doing my drills with it sheathed much of the time, just to keep accustomed to that weight, so that when I draw it, I'm faster. I really, really enjoy this. I really, really, it fits. It is not quite what I would call my sword. It's not the one I'm looking for. But the saberist in me from my very, very early days likes it. And the part of me that dabbled in Iaido many, many moons ago agrees. So this is very much a composite weapon that is fitting very well for a composite fighter. Your mileage, of course, may vary. So this will get a long-term review, as it is currently obviously one of my favorite trainers, simply because of the grip has obviously decent hand protection, not great. But then again, with a saber, you don't expect the same kind of hand protection you would get on a rapier. And I'm an old cup hilt rapierist. I will always be a cup hilt rapierist because I do love the way that hand protection works. Which is why the Carlos IV, what is it, 1783 Bilbao, Spanish Bilbao, is my favorite sword. But this really is not bad. 40 is still a bit pricey for me to consider it as a mainline, and it still does not fully beat out the polypropylene rapiers that we have used in the past. Though, those have the advantage of fitting quite nicely in PVC, and I may do some breakdowns and make some fancier sheaths for those. Having looked at this, that I can, paint or otherwise augment, with the purpose of making hanging wearable sheaths for all my students, so that every bout starts from the draw. I would very much like that. It would be something I am incredibly focused to have. I know me changing my schedule around on you guys. I've got some messages, and some folks are very upset. Some are very supportive. And honestly, I think the honesty of all the folks involved. The change is painful for me, but I know I at least needed last week off. And while I am adapting to some things going on, there may be some stumbles. I want to keep putting content out and actually want to improve the quantity and quality of content coming out for you guys. So it is something I am looking forward to doing. This, I know, is going to be a shorter stream, in part because I'm still dealing with some issues. I was rather severely injured a while ago. An accident of sorts had me basically head plant into a toilet. I went through the plunger that was popped and head planted into a toilet, turned the toilet sideways. It was a thing. An unpleasant situation made grotesquely more unpleasant by gravity's assistance. And that has required a little bit of recovery from me. And, some plumbing. But I think we will find I will be much better. And as I am rebuilding my schedule, I'm hoping to have more pre-recorded content. I'll probably do another more in-depth edited style review on that weapon. And I still, we need the weather to cooperate enough that my lovely wife can help do the review on the Guandao that was purchased for her. It's just we've been, until like today, well in the wind chills of 20 plus below. And with the snowdrifts, we've actually been snowed in for the last couple days, unable to get our cars out and stuff. So there was a whole ice situation. We've literally been out breaking and shipping it to get out. My thanks to my brother Ricky, who gave me transport and gave my wife transport. Hopefully by the end of this weekend, we will have that all fixed. But that work has added time. So I'm expecting to have some more reviews in the near future. Just, I'm waiting I have to wait about a week before I get seriously paid. Seriously paid. I get my Patreon money comes in, then I can look at what gear I can try to get as I'm rebuilding my personal armor. I did buy some impact absorbing gloves. They have been a colossal failure at everything they've attempted. So I will be doing a possibly scathing review on those. But they still have wiggle room, because if they work for their primary intended purpose, they will greatly help my return to blacksmithing. Basically, we are just trying to scrape together everything we need while dealing with a great many major issues. And just, make it through to spring. Hello, Progon. Nice to see you over on Kick. Let's see. Cool. Beyond that, we really don't have a lot else to discuss this week, other than I do hope you're doing your drills. You look like Moses, Unc. Sometimes I've been teaching people to sword fight for 25 years, Progon. You start to look, it changes you. It changes you. I've run out of toner quite a bit, but hey, as long as I'm upright and able to help folks, I'm not going to complain. So I'm going to take it as a compliment. Thank you. I'm glad he says it suits me low key. That is something I really appreciate. What you may have missed earlier, because you came in late, is we were reviewing. I was reviewing this lovely sword trainer as I take out my sideways camera holder. And it's a big part of what I do is I buy trainers on the low cost end, so that people trying to get into Western martial arts, HEMA, maybe SCA, even AmpGuard, have somebody who can talk about the trainers. And what does what mean? I'm sorry, I speak rather quickly sometimes. right off camera, I bumped into the. This is a support that I use for some of the art shows I do on, well, actually on Kick, so you're fine, where I move my webcam and I attach it here so you can see me do manual art. But I caught hold. Oh, the trainer. I think, yes. Okay, we'll go. This is a cavalry trainer, cavalry sword trainer with a sheath, which is incredibly rare. There are not many Western martial arts swords that you can purchase that are training swords. This is made of polypropylene, so it is plastic, which means it's safer to use to spar with. But it's very rare for them to come with a sheath. Katanas often come with sheath. Oh, thank you. And well, let me give you a comparison here. We have this, and I don't know if you won't be able to see the weight and quality comparison. Give me a moment. My study is a absolute disaster. But this is my preferred katana trainer. And I've wobbled it a bit. But I've used this for several years now for when I am in the mood for Iaido training. And it is a little higher quality in composition. Not a lot. It's a bit heavier in design. But it does flow remarkably well. And it is indeed one of my favorite trainers ever. I went with the brown blade to be less intimidating, because I have found it is always better to think about your optics, how you look. Because if I'm outside training with the sword, I prefer it to be orange or something so that I don't get shot by the police. Is this a hobby or a job? That's a great question. It's a little bit of both. I have spent the last 25 years teaching people in different clubs and things. So I would say a very intensive hobby. And I've written, that are published anyway, 3 books on how to sword fight, including The Simple Sword. So as an author, this is my job. This is a review for some of the things I write. I'm also a game designer, and I design RPGs and such. And I write a variety of novels. I like to have some idea what I'm talking about when I am writing, so this all helps. It's just at a point in my youth, well, when I was a young man, I was unabashedly a very angry young man. And I needed to do something with that. I needed a place to put that. So I had tried self-instruction with whatever books I could find. I ran briefly with some folks doing saber that gave me a lifetime of saber tendencies. But then I found the SCA, and I spent 12 years in the SCA, very quickly teaching people that were neglected by other members of that organization in my local area, at the college that I was at, and then later in the local community. I left the SCA when there was issue with me working with other groups, because by that point I had read many manuals, and what I found was most people, they read fencing manuals and they kind of pick their favorites and they argue about, well, he's right about this, he's right about that. I am not that guy. What I was interested in is, what do they all agree on? Because if they all agree on any given subject, especially like early on, don't cross your feet, footwork things, there's something there. So I studied that, and I just started sort of going, okay, if George Silver and Nicola Gigante agree. I mean, their sword play is their blade work absolutely different. Silver's all about older style weapons. It's a whole thing, and Gigante's a very practical rapierist, and a smaller guy, which made him and his approach more adaptable for teaching women, for example, which is what I've done for a long time. The things that he agreed on, and then I would look at Eastern martial arts, Kenjutsu, Kendo, what do they call that Russian, the Cossack sword play style? Oh, it left my mind. Anyway, and I went, wow. Well, Chinese Jin, all agree on these. You look at the style, and it's the same thing. And because we all have the same physical parameters for the most part, I mean, our elbows work the same. Our shoulders have the same range of mobility optimally. I've worked on going, what do you all agree on? And I just kept looking at it to develop a style that could be learned by almost anyone, could be adapted for people with moderate to severe physical limitations, and then taught. And that's what I did. That's how I came up with the simple sword. It's a distillation of ideas. It is very, the current simple sword book is very rapier centered, because at the time that was my primary style. Now I orbit somewhere between rapier and broadsword a lot of the time, although I've fought with more weapons and styles than I can literally remember, because what I was setting up was a Rosetta Stone. The Historical Fencing Guild originally was an organization meant to be a neutral meeting ground between martial artists and martial artists of different styles. So somebody who's done pencil art could come out and they talk to us back when we were doing workshops at the library. And we get pencil art, we got Krav Maga guys. I think, of course, Eastern martial artists, as well as folks who like Meyer. We have a guy in the organization who's all about Meyer. And with this simple passion, I've been able to help people come together, stress test their styles in a calm, safe, and controlled manner. Because we're not going for belt ranks around with what I do. We're not going for medals or anything like that. My goal is to help people who would not otherwise be able to sword fight. It is to help martial artists, communicate outside of their own spheres, to elevate anyone who is interested, regardless of organization, and just to help folks. Because a lot of times, when you have been victimized, your sense of identity goes, your sense of power, your sense of autonomy goes. And there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering. This is for folks who have had to endure sexual assaults. This is for folks who've depression has may have driven them to suicidal situations. Folks getting through it, having overcome addictions. I've also worked with a lot of veterans who are actually coming to hang out loosely and learn to ratchet down their aggression to more civilian responses. I grew up around disabled veterans, so I speak vet pretty well. At least I understand it. I am, of course, a fat civilian, so I would never misrepresent myself as anything. But beyond that, I find it's amazing, and it really is. When I have somebody who's never held a sword, when I have somebody who's felt weak their whole life or whatever, and they suddenly can kind of regain the ability to become the main character in their life, there's nothing better. And of course, I train with people who are physically active, who don't have physical limitations at all. And it is my absolute pleasure to work with those folks because they're good people. Don't think I'm exclusionary, but this lets me continue to help folks. I used to work out of the house. I cannot because I'm the primary caregiver for my son who has special needs. And my professional background makes me rather uniquely suited to do that most of the time. But, and I still used to do weekly practices. And then I had to move about 100 miles, and it's harder to get people together. So during the pandemic, I set up this little channel for the purpose of keeping, well, I actually had it quite a bit before the pandemic, but I set up this show, the live streams, for the purpose of setting up contact and maintaining contact with my students and my friends. Of late, there's been some schedule conflicts, so less people can make the live streams, and that's okay because that would free me up on my usual Friday nights. However, if I don't get a pre-recorded video up, I feel I have to do something, so I pop out the live streams and we see how that goes. That's kind of the format around here. We're getting ready for the spring cleanup of both my property and possibly the eventual proper building of the list field. And with that, we'll be able to have much nicer, more organized sparring sessions again. So it's something I am working on actively, but we had just a lot hit, and then 2025, 2026 being the world as it is. But I still try to broadcast at least this program. You're watching on Kick, which means you'll get to see me at least 4 times a week if I am still broadcasting via this for the Historical Fencing Guild and my other programs, mostly based around Nevermind the Furthermore, my morning talk show. What basically I stream when my son is either still asleep because he sleeps in, and during the morning period when he has a very strict schedule that he can follow regardless, and he knows I'm here doing this. And then usually at night during his bath time and kind of there's a chill period, which means I can come on and do this. This is how we operate, and I hope it is helpful and beneficial to everyone. That's been a glimpse behind the curtain that I think was needed. A chance to look at a new product that I will be doing a pre-recorded full video for, but I needed to tell you guys and show you that that's there. I have the manual Thibault wrote, a translation of Thibault's manual and distillation. Academy of the Sword, I believe. Let me see. Hold on. I am very terrible with remembering the books. So give me just a second. This is my current read. Thibault's Rapier, a systematic guide to Thibault's Academy of the Sword by James Colton. I am reading that as a refresher, as the actual full translation of Thibault's book is quite expensive right now. But this is a lower cost item I am fascinated to look into. It's very, very connected to Verdera Destreza, which is one of my favorite styles and approaches, a very Spanish style. Beyond that, I'll be doing a review after I've read through it and thoroughly analyzed it. Oops, sorry about that. And we'll just do this. Hi, I'm back. I also occasionally review and discuss Nerf blasters. I'm a varied producer. That's why the Nerf blasters are on the wall over there, the box sides. I need to get a few more things up. My study is a perpetual evolution. But we've gone about 40 some odd minutes. Looks like we've got a quiet group tonight. So if I have no further questions, I'm going to call this. Please like, share, and subscribe. There will be more content coming, just not immediate, not tonight. So guys, keep your guard up, do your drills, be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, thank you for supporting your local sword master. Thank my wonderful patrons who allow me to go. I'm working on some new manual material that I think I need to slide a little higher in the priority list. I'll probably discuss that on the Patreon page for people who are interested. Beyond that, guys, have a great night. And I'll see you all very soon. Toodles.